να συμμαζέψει κάποια πραγματάκια λίγο, επειδή έχει απλώς πάρα πολλή ιστορία και γίνει πολύ σύνθετη. Αλλά έχω δέσει έτσι πολύ ωραίο suspense και πηγαίνει πολύ καλά. Υπολογίζω ότι την επόμενη εβδομάδα θα είναι έτοιμη να σας τη
Δεν σας
στείλω.
φοβόμαστε, εσείς είστε για τα δύσκολα, οπότε περιμένουμε με πολύ μεγάλη χαρά το τέλος.
Τα παιδιά εδώ έχουν κάνει έτσι, έχουν βάλει πολύ τα δυνατά τους με φοβερές ιδέες και νομίζω ότι το έχουμε πάει πολύ καλά.
Ωραία. Ανυπομονούμε να δούμε το τέλος και να το επιστρέψουμε σε όλα τα σχολεία, να το διαβάσετε σαν καλοκαιρινή, να το έχετε μαζί σας στις διακοπές και να το απολαύσετε.
Να πω και ένα πολύ μεγάλο μπράβο σε όλα τα παιδιά. Εντάξει, εδώ λείπουν πολλά παιδιά ακόμη που από τα άλλα σχολεία για τις πολύ ωραίες ιδέες που είχαν. Έχουμε στείλει πολύ αστεία κάποια σημεία. Ναι. Πολύ έξυπνες ιδέες, έχουν εξελίξει την ιστορία της πάρα πολύ ωραία.
So, we are ready to start. Thank you for joining us. We have Mr. Wolf with us, the author of the story. Would you like to welcome him? In Greek, probably? Να το πούμε μια μεγάλη καλησπέρα.
Καλώς ήρθατε.
Καλώς ήρθατε.
Γεια σας.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
This, Mr. Wolf, means welcome.
What was the question? Sorry.
The students said you welcome.
Oh,
and hello.
Thank you. Efkarista. I'm afraid my name here says Dan Brotzel, but I'm actually Alex Wolf, I promise you. I share the account with a friend, so that's why it's a different name. But it's really me. It's wonderful to see you all. Wow, there's so many of you, and it's fascinating because we write our stories in our bedrooms or our studies on our own, and they go out into the world, and we don't really think about how many people are reading them or where they are in the world, and it's really, really wonderful to actually meet readers, and I really look forward to your questions. I have some questions for you as well, but later. But if you want to ask me some questions, please go ahead, and I'll see if I can answer them.
I think there is a problem with the sound. Παιδιά, μας ακούτε καλά?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Ωραία.
You can hear me?
Ωραία.
Okay.
Συμφωνείτε να βιντεοσκοπήσουμε την παρουσίαση? Είστε όλοι εντάξει με αυτό?
It's fine, of course.
Yeah, of course.
No problem.
It's okay.
It's fine. No problem. It's okay.
Okay. So we start. Enjoy it.
Recording in progress.
Oh. Okay.
So, would you like to start, Mr. Wolf?
Did you want me to start speaking or somebody got a question? What was that?
So, I have a question.
Okay.
What inspires you to write a book?
Inspires me to write a book? Well, I have many inspirations for my stories. Often it's just an idea that comes to me while I'm walking along one day, or it might be a dream. It might be something that I've read in a book. It might be something that somebody says to me. It comes from all sorts of places. There's no predicting or anything. I have a doll's house in my bedroom. It used to belong to my daughter, and we've got it in our bedroom now. And one night, the moonlight was shining on the doll's house, on the little dolls in there. And that gave me an idea for a story because I couldn't sleep that night. So I thought of a story called The Curse of the Moon Children, which we eventually published on Fiction Express. So it can be literally anything. And I never know when inspiration will strike. It could be at any moment. I could be having a cup of tea. I could be, in the bath. It doesn't matter. Suddenly an idea will hit me. So that's really how it works. But quite often it's a suggestion from the editor. So, for example, in the one I'm going to write next, the editor wanted me to write something about history, something that happened in the past. So I thought, because my family is Jewish, and we were affected by the Holocaust. I lost a lot of my relatives. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to write a story set at that time. So I've been planning a story about that, and that was sort of suggested to me by my editor and by my own family history. So yeah, it can come from anywhere, really. Shall I ask you guys a question? What kind of stories do you enjoy reading? Anyone can answer. I'm just interested to hear.
Adventure stories?
Adventure stories.
Yes.
Who said that?
I agree.
Science fiction.
Sorry?
Science fiction.
Science fiction. Okay.
Me too.
I love science fiction. I think it's great.
Science fiction stories.
Yeah. Any more?
About social problems.
Books about mystery and detectives.
Yeah, mystery novels are cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So mystery, adventure, science fiction.
Horror.
Horror. Okay. Yeah. And when you're reading a story, what is more important to you, the characters or the plot?
The plot. Honestly.
The plot.
Plot.
I agree, the plot. Let's say
Okay.
both.
Right.
And the
So-
characters.
And the characters, yeah.
Both
I was going to say that you kind of need them both because if you don't care about the characters, then it's difficult to get into the story. But on the other hand, you do need a good plot. I agree.
We need
And,
a good character development.
The what? Sorry.
And we need a good character development.
Character development. Yeah. So a character doesn't just stay the same throughout the story. The character grows through challenges. Absolutely, I agree. And do you have any particular favorite books or authors that you like reading?
Could you repeat that, please?
Do you have a favorite author or a favorite book that you like that you really enjoy?
No, I mostly read whatever I see. If it's interesting, just read it.
Actually, my favorite actor is you. I really love reading your books on Fiction Express. And actually, my favorite book was one of yours that talks about 4 kids, actually 4 adults that went at the moon, and they found something like a portal door, and they were traveling past in time.
Yeah. Mystery at Moonbase 1. Yeah.
Exactly.
I really liked the mind swap. That you
Yeah,
read.
the mind swap. The mind swap. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed writing that one as well. It was, I guess because it was about bullying, but I wanted to see what it would be like to write from the point of view of the bully, and for the bully to feel what it would be like to be a victim. So the idea is that you swap the two around. So I'm glad you enjoyed that one. It was a really enjoyable one to write. And also Mystery at Moonbase 1 was also great fun. So yeah, I love time travel, and I love science fiction. I think someone said that they like science fiction stories. Some of my earliest stories were science fiction stories, and I really love that. So yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed those. Well, when you read the stories on Fiction Express, how do you read them? Do you read them on your at home? Do you read them at school? I mean, how does it work exactly? Do you read them on your little
At home.
Devices?
At home, usually.
Yeah, at home.
Or laptop.
After I finish my homework.
Oh, after you finish your homework. Okay.
Before bedtime. With my
Before
phone.
Okay. And what do you enjoy the voting? Do you enjoy that part of it?
Yes.
It was my favorite part.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Right. Do you find the choices sometimes quite hard to make, or always easy?
They were hard sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes they were hard a bit.
About voting.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel sorry for the readers because we give the choices, we make them very, very hard. We know when it's a hard choice because we look at the percentages, and if the percentages are very close, then we know that it was a hard choice. So, do you find the stories easy or hard to understand?
It depends on the level we're reading.
They are easy.
In my opinion, it depends on how how careful you read the book, and how much attention you give in the plot and on the characters too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You do have to focus and concentrate while you're reading. Otherwise, it becomes harder. What do you do if you come across a word that you don't understand, or a piece of the writing you don't understand? Do you ask somebody for help, or how does that work?
I actually searched it on Google.
Google.
I think most of us just look it up.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
We look it
Me
up
too,
or
because I don't
talk
know
about it
all the
with our
parts.
teachers.
Yeah. Even the explanations. So they need to work harder on the explanations to make those easier. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'll pass that on to the editors at Fiction Express. And what about the quiz questions at the end? Do you manage to answer those okay? Do you get 10 out of 10 each time?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Most of the time.
No?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It helps to really enjoy the story. Otherwise, we're not, as authors, we're not doing our job if you're not enjoying it. What about the forum? Do you enjoy the forum, like interacting with the authors?
It's the best part.
Yes.
That's the best
Really
part.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time? I mean, is that a big part of the process for you, the forum, or do you spend more time on the reading?
I spend more time on the forum.
On the forum.
Because I like contact have contact with the authors.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, we really, as authors, we really love the forum. You know, we really enjoy it. It's so good to have connections with the readers and to get instant feedback. And we sometimes get very good ideas from the readers, you know, for continuing our story. And what I try to do sometimes is ask them questions about the last one I wrote. I asked them what they want to name, the name of a street or the name of a part of the town or the name of a character, and I get the ideas and I use those names for the story. So I think it's a wonderful way of more interactions with the readers.
Personally, I appreciate the fact that all the authors on Fiction Express reply quickly and to most of our comments. I do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I try my best. We get so many because there's so many readers, so it's hard, but we really try. That's great. What else did I want to ask? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so good to hear, because I enjoy recording the audios, but I don't know how good they are. I mean, I'm not an actor. I'm a writer, so you know, I think an actor could probably do it better. But you know, we do our best to make it interesting, and I'm glad it's helpful because sometimes when you speak it, it's more understandable than when it's just on the page. You know, you can hear the emphasis and it makes it more understandable. So, that's really, really good to hear. I'll pass all this on, by the way. This is really, really good feedback. And I just wanted to ask you about your story that you wrote. You were all taking part in this amazing exercise. I really enjoyed reading it. I want to read it more carefully, and I want to hear the ending of the story about the astronauts, the young astronauts who came back and no one knew who they were, and they came through the cloud. And I thought it was so imaginative and so interesting what you did with that initial premise. So I just wanted to know from you, how did you feel about writing that? Was that an easy, was that an enjoyable process, writing that? Because you didn't write the whole story, you were all, as I understand it, writing little chapters within it. Is that right?
It was enjoyable, but it was too short. Like we had to write just one phrase. It was not really nice.
So you literally wrote one sentence each. Is that how it worked?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's how it works.
Yeah, one sentence each per.
To write one sentence.
Actually, there was one sentence, and it was,
One sentence each person.
it was pretty hard because I actually had many ideas after reading. After reading the book, started from another school. I had many ideas. As a class, we had many ideas, and it was really hard to put all these ideas in only 7 phrases.
Wow, that is extraordinary. I didn't realize that. That is amazing. I can imagine that must have been quite frustrating because, you know, you probably wanted to write more. You had all these ideas and you couldn't, and you had to make it somehow flow with the story that was already there. And I'm even more impressed now. I'm going to go back and read it again because it's incredible that so many, 520 students together wrote something like that, and it all makes sense. It all works, even though you were all completely different people with different ideas. And I mean, that's just phenomenal. I've never heard of anything like that before, ever. I think, and I understand it's going to be published, so you can be very proud of yourselves. But yes, I can imagine that was quite a challenge. Has it inspired you to want to write stories yourself? Do you like to write?
Yes.
Yes.
To be honest, I like, because I've started to write one alone, and the books gave me a lot of ideas and ways to find the correct words.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, good luck. Are you writing that in English? Yeah, fantastic. That's amazing. And what's the story about? Can you speak a bit louder? Sorry, I didn't hear that. So it's about a girl in an Olympic diving team. Is that right? And something about the environment. Or ballerina. Ballerina, like a dancer, yeah? And what was the inspiration for that story? Well, that sounds wonderful. I would love to see that, read that story when you finished it. It sounds great. And has anybody else tried any writing, any stories?
Actually, some days ago I had this idea writing a story based on not a famous, but it's like a true story from someone's past because he got bullied. It is common with the other girl's story. It was about a boy that actually he really loved dance ballet, but he got bullied at school from other boys because they said that boys don't dance ballet, all these things.
Yes, I remember there was a film about something similar to that
It
in
was
this
Billy
country.
Elliot. That's what
Exactly.
Billy Elliot, that was it.
Actually,
Yeah.
my favorite actor played in that musical when he was like 11 to 12 years old. And yeah, this story is actually about him.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And how far have you got with it? Have you started writing it, or?
I actually am going to start this weekend, and however we'll put hard work in the summer, and now that the school will finish, and yes.
Oh, good luck. That sounds amazing. That really sounds amazing. And yeah, absolutely. I'd love to read it when it's finished. I think that you are quite amazing writing stories in a language which isn't your first language. It really is extraordinary. And, you know, I'm really glad that, you know, that if we have inspired anything at Fiction Express, it's what we want to do is inspire new writers, because you know, when you guys grow up, maybe you can write Fiction Express stories yourself, or you can write other books. You know, that's what it's all about. Wow, that's fantastic. happy to hear if anyone has got any further questions they want to ask about any of the stories you've read, about what it's like to write Fiction Express. Does anybody want to know anything?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Out of all the books you've written, which one or which ones are your favorite?
Wow. Well, I right at the beginning of Fiction Express, before it was aimed at schools, we wrote some stories aimed directly at teenagers, and I wrote a story called Soul Shadows, and it was about shadows that come to life. It was a kind of horror story. I think someone said earlier that they liked horror, and what I remember very clearly about it was that I wrote it in 11 weeks because there were 11 chapters, and it was the very first kind of Fiction Express thing I'd ever done. So I'd never done anything like it before, but I'll never forget the writing process of that book. And then it was published. This is it. So as you can see, it's quite a lot bigger than the average Fiction Express book because it was 11 chapters, not 5. But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience, and it's actually still my favorite book that I've ever written. I mean, of the Fiction Express books I've written for more recently, I would say, gosh, I think Split was one of my favorites because I really like the idea about someone having split personality, because sometimes I feel that myself, like I'm two different people trapped inside one body, and I can't kind of decide if I want to do one thing or another, or be one person or another person. So that was, I found that quite an appealing idea. So that's probably my favorite of my more recent books for Fiction Express. Any more questions?
May I ask something?
Sure.
May I ask something?
Go ahead.
Are you intending to write a new book about science fiction?
Oh, yeah, I've got an idea for a science fiction book, but I think it'll probably be for grown-ups. But I was thinking something like Sherlock Holmes in space. I know it sounds crazy, but I just thought it'd be quite nice to do a kind of detective story, but set in a science fiction setting in a spaceship, where maybe there's a murder and they've got to work out who the murderer is. But it's all set in a spaceship somewhere. So that was kind of my idea, but I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to write it. I've got some of it all planned out, but I haven't actually started writing it
I
yet.
would love to read that.
Thank you. Well, I'll let you know when it's out. Yeah.
May I ask something?
Sure.
I believe like as an author, you take way too much time to write a book. Is it hard to write actually a chapter every week?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, it never gets easier. I've written 18 books now for Fiction Express, and I always get a bit nervous on the Tuesday afternoon when the votes come in, and I know I've only got a day or maybe 2 days to write the next chapter. It's the thing is that you never know how the votes are going to go. You never know what the readers are going to decide. And believe me, I've been doing this for for 10 years now, and I've never been able to guess it. I always get it wrong. Like, I think they're going to go for something, and then it's not the thing I expect. And so I can't really plan what I'm going to write in my chapter until the vote comes in. And then when the vote comes in, I think, oh no, how am I going to write that chapter? That's not what I would have expected. So there's always that panic at the beginning. But once I get down there in front of my computer, I find a way. I always find a way, because I think that's part of the pressure that you're under, because it's a bit like when you have an exam coming up and you have to revise for the exam, and then suddenly the exam comes and you're there on the day with the paper in front of you, and you just have to start writing. That's, you know, in my case, you know, I won't get paid if I don't write the chapter. So, and I don't want to let people down either. So there's a lot of pressure, but you just have to do it. You just have to do it, and you know, somehow it always works out. I don't quite know how, but it just does. But I'm always interested in the voting, you know, because sometimes I give readers a tough choice, and I'll say, you know, make the character suffer. You know, I'll give them a really, really tough choice, and readers seem to be quite kind towards the character sometimes, and sometimes the vote will be no, make them do the easy thing, or the thing that won't be so harmful to them. So it's really, really, it's really tough. It's like you never know which way it's going to go. Is what I'm saying. But yeah, it's never easy, but it's so enjoyable. I so love the process of
Can I ask
how it
something?
works. I love involving the readers in the decisions we make, and I wouldn't want to do it any other way, frankly. Any other questions?
Can I ask something, please?
Sure.
I'm writing a book, and I realize that my first chapter is kind of small, because I think it's under 2,000 words, and I'm trying to make it better and bigger. How many words does a chapter have to be? I mean, over 2K?
Oh, well, no, not at all. Absolutely not. Is the book aimed at young people, like teenagers, or what sort of age? Because you can a chapter can be any length at all. What matters is the length of the overall book. So for most children, I would say 40,000 words for a novel is fine. You could have, for grown-ups, I think 60,000 words or more is fine for a novel. But the individual chapters can be any length at all. They can be one paragraph sometimes, I've seen. But usually what we try to do is keep the chapters roughly the same length. With Fiction Express, I have the opposite problem from you, because I always struggle to keep my chapters down. So my chapters are supposed to be 2,500 words each for level 3. When I write level 2, I think they're supposed to be 1,500, I think it is. And so my struggle is always to keep that word length down. And I will sometimes submit it 2,600 words, and the editor will try to make cuts to make it a bit shorter. But yeah, I mean, that's the standard length for a Fiction Express story, but generally speaking, chapters can be any length you like, really. Does that answer your question?
Thank
Can I
you.
ask
I'm
one
okay.
more question?
Yeah.
We have also 2 students asking in the chat.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, we have 2 students asking in the chat. The first one, how old were you when you started writing books?
Oh, well, I was, when I first started getting books published, I was about 35. I was quite old. I would be writing stories for a long time for my own pleasure, but I was working for a publishing company, so I was editing other people's books, and I wasn't trying to get my own books published. But then I left this company and I started working for myself, freelance as an editor, but also as a writer, and I started writing books. I can show you the very first book I wrote. There's this one. It's about artificial intelligence. It's about robots, basically. So I wrote that. It's the first book I got published. A lot of the books I wrote were non-fiction, and they still are. but you know, I combine the two, non-fiction and fiction. Are there more questions on the chat? Let's have a look. Oh, I see. It says here.
How old were you?
Sorry, how old?
It says, how old were you when you started writing books?
Yeah, I said I was about 35. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just reading this one. It says, are you keen on trying to write the kind of story that you had never read? For example, if you like science fiction, would you try to write romance? I would struggle, I think, to write romance. Although, funnily enough, romance comes into a lot of stories I write. But I wouldn't want to set out and write a romantic story. So I wouldn't write a love story, but I don't mind if there's a bit of love and romance in my stories, if you see what I mean. Are you keen on trying to write a kind of story that, oh, I've already read that. Had you been dreaming to become an author from a young age? That's from Nikki. Yes, actually, funnily enough, when I was really young, before I knew what a writer was, I used to tell myself stories. I used to play with soldiers, and the soldiers had characters, and there were stories and so on. And I think I was telling myself stories. And then when I got a bit older, I started drawing pictures. And I was like drawing pictures of these adventures in my head. And then I just started reading. And I read and read and read and read. And I think from reading, I realized, yeah, you can actually write stories with words and paint pictures with words. And I loved it from the moment. So yeah, from about the age of 11 or 12, I started writing stories. But I never thought of pursuing it as a career, particularly until I was much older. It was more like a hobby, yeah?
May I ask a question too? It will be a quick one, I promise.
Sure, yeah.
How did you join Fiction Express? Like somebody asked you to do it, or did you?
Yeah, the Fiction Express was started by a man called Paul Humphrey, and it was his idea. And I knew him because we worked together in publishing, and he approached me because he knew that I enjoyed writing stories, and he asked me if I had any story ideas, and I said I had an idea which was called The Shadow of Death, and that became Soul Shadows, that book I was showing you, and that was how it all began for me. That was 10 years ago. And so I've been writing for Fiction Express ever since. So it was really thanks to my friendship with this guy, Paul. He's retired now, but I still see him from time to time.
May I ask a question too?
Sure.
If you were like a producer, like, I don't know, the Russo brothers, is it the same writing a book and a script for a movie?
No, not really. No, I've never tried writing a script, but I know some people who write film scripts, and it's very different because a film script, it's all visual. It's all about what's on the screen, and they don't have to. A big part of the story writer's skill is painting pictures with words. They don't do that. It's all about the dialogue, and the visuals are all done with a camera. So it's a completely different skill. But I do love films, and I do find film script writing fascinating, but I think it would take me so long to learn how to do it. And I feel that I don't know if I've got that time to spend learning a new skill. But yeah, very good question. It says here, how do you feel about the reviews of your books? I try to be quite okay with them. I mean, generally the reviews I've had have been pretty kind, which I'm glad about. But what I always try to remember is this is somebody's point of view. It's not everybody's point of view. It's one person's point of view. So if someone doesn't like my story, I don't feel too sad because that's just one person. But luckily, so far, I've had reasonable reviews. Are you going to write more historical books? Well, I love history. I did history at university, and I love researching history books, non-fiction, but I also like writing historical fiction. So absolutely, the next one I'm going to write for Fiction Express will be set in the Second World War, as I said. So that'll be a historical book. But, you know, I like writing all kinds of books. So it's not just, you know, I try to vary it with each book I write.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you know any apps or platforms where we can write stories and upload them?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Do you know any platforms or apps where we can write stories and upload them?
Oh, I don't actually. I mean, I'm sure there are places where you can do that. I think it's just a case of Googling really and seeing what's out there. But I think there are places where authors share stories with each other. And I've heard of places where you put out a free chapter, and if they like it, then they'll pay a little bit of money, like a very small amount of money, and they might, you could post another chapter to them. So there are different ways of different models of doing it. But I would just, you know, do some research. Another question here from Angie Nomiku is, do your parents want you to be an author? I think my parents were quite pleased. You know, my father originally wanted me to be an accountant, which I wasn't really cut out to do. But no, I think they just wanted me to be happy and do something that pleased me rather. And so no, they're very fine. They're happy with me, and they're, you know, still are, I think. Another question.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
What kind of story do you prefer to write?
Wow, I love mystery stories. I think they're probably my favorite, but I also love historical fiction, and I love science fiction. I love horror, and those are my favorite ones, really. I have tried fantasy, but I don't really enjoy that. You know, dragons and elves, they just don't do anything for me. As I said, I've never tried a romance so far. But yeah, I would say mystery is my absolute favorite. It says here, do you think that writing a diary on a daily basis will help you write better stories and broaden your thoughts? That's from Melia Cosmidou. Well, I have a very strong opinion about this. I think that if you want to be a serious writer, you have to write every single day. And it could be a diary. It could just be a part of a story. Even if it's only a paragraph, you must always write. It's like a practice, you know, because writing is a craft, like practicing the violin. And you have to practice it every day to keep up your skill. So I would say a diary is a very good way of doing that. And it helps to order your thoughts. It helps you learn to express yourself. And it absolutely is a wonderful idea if you've got the time to do that.
May I ask you another question?
Sure, absolutely.
Do you only write kids literature? And if so, why? Why do you do this? I mean, why don't you write about adults, books about adults? Or
Oh, do you mean why do I just write for children and not
yes.
for adults? Oh, well, I do write for adults as well, actually. I haven't talked about that, but I have written books for adults. It's a funny thing. I think I just have a natural, because I probably never grew up properly, and I just have a natural love for writing stories for children. I really enjoy the emphasis on plot, and that the way that they are structured, and the excitement and the drama and the fact that they are quite fast paced, and the story has to grip you, and there's lots of suspense. I know you get some of that in adult books as well, but adult books, they tend to have much longer periods of description, and there's much more emphasis on character development. And I like the way children's books tend to be quite short, and they just, there's something about them that just appeals to me. I can't really explain it, but that's how I feel. Good question there.
May I ask you a question? As you can see, we can talk all night.
Oh yeah, sorry, absolutely. Yeah. Shall we?
So where can we find you?
Where can you find me? Well, I'm on Twitter at Real Alex Wolf. I'm also I have a website which is alexwolf.co.uk, and you can find out my latest stories and whatever on that. And absolutely drop by, and you can leave a message on my website if you like. And I would love to read the rest of this wonderful collaboration story that you've been writing, because I'm fascinated by it, and I think it's an amazing piece of work. So yeah, I look forward to reading that.
Thank you. It will be our pleasure. So, guys, you are fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Let's invite the author to visit our country.
Of course.
Right.
You should come.
And maybe Greece as a country could give you some ideas for books, like the 12 Gods from Olympus, or from exactly.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sure it'd be very inspiring.
Actually, Greece has amazing landscapes which you could find inspiration of.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. I often find my best ideas come when I'm on holiday. So maybe if I come to Greece, I'll get some great ideas for a new story. No, that's a wonderful idea. Yeah, I would love to do that. I'll stay in touch. That sounds amazing. That really sounds amazing. I would love to do that. Absolutely. As soon as we're allowed to travel.
Maybe after that you could write a book about your holidays in this island. Maybe.
Absolutely. I would love to do that.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Can we say something?
I'm sure I would have so many good ideas. Because Greece is a land of incredible beauty, but also amazing history. And, we study the Greek myths and legends when I was at school. And I just find it a fascinating place. So I would love to come.
I just wanted to say that I love your accent. I love it very much.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice summer. We hope you enjoyed the experience.
Oh, I
And
really enjoyed it.
see you the next school year with more Fiction Express and more ideas.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. I love meeting you.
Bye bye.
Thank you for having us.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.